Hey, it's Patti Scharf, CPA and co-founder of Catching Clouds, a leader in e-commerce accounting. Welcome back to another Saturday Slowdown, where I like to remind everybody to work on their business and not just in their business. Today I want to talk about how to pick the right accounting platform for your e-commerce business. I've been getting this question everywhere all the time, and I'm seeing it more and more online, I think because more and more accountants are starting to realize that this is a question that they should be asking. But it really needs to start with you, the e-commerce business owner, because you're the one, you're out there, you're picking out your shopping carts and your payment processors and your repricers and your pay-per-click stuff, your email market. Like, you're probably in app overload at this point, and you know that you need to get control over your finances, and you're not really sure where to start. So this is kind of to give you some advice to put you on the right path, what options you should be looking at and where you should be going with that. When you're talking about keeping track of your accounting, I think everybody pretty much starts out on spreadsheets because it's easy and it's basically free. But there are other options that are actually better for your business because it has a double entry bookkeeping element to it. If you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, I'm sure I've got a video. If I have a video, you'll see something pop up right here. But in any case, if you're using a double entry system, then you can make sure that the money that's going in and coming out is all accounted for when you're doing your stuff, right? So there are lots of different tools on the market. There is NetSuite at the very high end. You might need NetSuite. We've had clients who have outgrown us and gone to NetSuite because they're in the, $75 million a year range or something like that. They've got really sophisticated inventory needs, and they want to track everything item by item. And NetSuite was basically built for that. It's a really solid system. People love it or hate it. The funky thing about NetSuite is it makes the hard things easy and the easy things hard. So, like, if you're going with something like Xero or QuickBooks Online, which I'll talk about in a second, they have like automatic bank feeds where they can pull transactions directly from the bank into the system. NetSuite doesn't have that. Like, you would think that if these more basic systems had that NetSuite would be able to figure that out, but they don't do that. But they work really well with inventory and stuff like that. So the downside to NetSuite is it's really, really crazy expensive, like insanely expensive. So if you can get just as good a results, like keep your eye on the prize. If you know what you're trying to get to is good financial information and you can get there in a more cost-effective way, I don't know why you wouldn't do that. But there are valid reasons. You just need to know what those reasons are before you start doing your research. There's a new tool called Odoo, which is an open source tool that a lot of companies are starting to check out. They don't have a long enough track record really for me to kind of get a sense in the market of where they're at development wise. But the thing about Odoo is that it costs less for the license, but it's going to cost way more for development because you're basically creating a custom solution for yourself as you're going. So that's something to be aware of. But I think it's a company to watch. I've been hearing lots of rumblings about them. So we'll see what happens with them. The two big players in this space right now are QuickBooks Online and Xero. If you're an e-commerce seller, chances are you're probably going to be on one of these. I know a lot of accountants in particular who are like, no, they should use QuickBooks Desktop for Enterprise because they have a more robust inventory system and all that. Well, the problem with QuickBooks Desktop is that QuickBooks Desktop doesn't have what these cloud applications have. Xero and QuickBooks Online, they have this whole ecosystem of different apps and things that plug in and can move information around and is accessible by people no matter where you are, whereas QuickBooks Desktop is kind of a pain in the butt to use. It's why people are moving away from it, because if you want it in a central location, now you have to get a hosted server and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a mess. Like, if your business is in the cloud, you should be using tools that are in the cloud. So QuickBooks Online and Xero, they are pretty much neck and neck. I'm not going to go too much into them, but go check out this video that I did a while back that's comparing the two systems for e-commerce. I would say the end result is they're kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other at this point, but there's been a lot of rumblings about QuickBooks Online as of late in the accounting community. I think that technologically, QuickBooks Online and Xero are pretty comparable. They're pretty competitive. They're kind of keeping each other in check as far as pushing each other in the industry. So it's great that they've got this competition going to push things forward, because it's better for everybody in the industry when you've got a competitor who's doing that. But the problem with QuickBooks Online is they're having a heck of a time. Like, Intuit itself is having a heck of a time. There's like a bunch of rumblings about TurboTax, where they were hiding their free file system in the web searches and stuff, so people can find this free filing system that they could use for taxes. And they've been raising their prices over and over and over. Like, I just did a video, I want to say like 10 months ago, after a lot of people were unhappy with Intuit because they had raised their prices again, and they were like, what are my alternatives? They keep raising their prices. And that was less than a year ago, and just this past week they announced another price increase of like 16% or something like that. It's kind of crazy. So a lot of people, and then the other thing is they just started this QuickBooks Live thing where they're offering bookkeeping services just to the general world, which I have some other comments about how that's going to go. But in any case, there are a lot of accountants who are like freaked out about that, and they're like, they're cannibalizing our clients, and they're going to do a horrible job, and what are they doing? And they're just like all up in arms. So a lot of people are jumping ship from QuickBooks Online and looking for alternatives. So I have a feeling a lot of people are going to end up going to Xero, which I guess is good. I don't think QuickBooks Online is going anywhere. As far as price increases, Xero hasn't done any since basically I started using them in 2012. So if they had a price increase, okay, but it's not the same as what's going on over at QuickBooks Online, where they're raising prices like a couple of times a year. So I guess that's something to be aware of. There are other players in the accounting space, like Wave or Zoho or whatever. There are a whole bunch of them who are kind of trying to get traction and stuff. But the problem with these other tools is they don't have the ecosystem that QuickBooks Online and Xero have. They don't have third-party apps that integrate with them, that make them more powerful than they are alone. So that's something that you should be aware of. And I think it's especially important for e-commerce businesses, because if you're going to grow to any kind of real size, you're going to want to have a cloud inventory system. I've got a whole video about that right here. And Zoho, Wave, all those other guys, they don't have that. So I think if you're a small business, you're looking to do things on your own or with a consultant or whatever, you should really be starting with either QuickBooks Online or Xero and then growing from there. I wouldn't waste too much time on some of the other tools. All right, so now you know what kind of platform options there are. Basically, now it's just time to evaluate everything and make a decision. The first thing that you want to do is make sure that your operations are solid. Your operations are more important than the numbers right out of the gate. I mean, don't get me wrong, you need to know your numbers and you need to know them pretty quickly. But the first thing you want to do is make sure that you know how your business works, how you're getting products through the system, and then where that data is. And then you need to know what kind of data you need to be grabbing for your financials. And to do that, you need the help of your accountant, who's going to be in there looking at the data and helping to make sure that things go smoothly, right? So when you can understand your operations, you'll better understand your flow of data, and once you understand your flow of data, you can make that whole thing kind of streamlined. One thing you want to make sure that you do is create a system that's going to scale. Like, I know so many people who are like, oh, okay, so I'm going to use Xero, or I'm going to use QuickBooks Online, and I'm using Shopify. Now, I just need to know how to push each of those individual orders over into my accounting system. And they do it, and they have 5 orders a day, and it works, and they're like, done, this is amazing. And then 6 months later, when they're selling 10,000 orders a day, they're like, this is not amazing. like they just created this horrible nightmare and a huge mess, and they have to scrap everything and start over. So whatever your system you're putting into place, you need to understand how to create that system, how to put it into place, how to make sure it's going to work for the long term. Make sure that it scales as you're going on. And again, for that, you need somebody who has some experience working with bigger sellers who know how that all is going to work. My other warning to you about picking the right person to work with you is you're going to want to ask them, like, not only what kinds of clients they have. Like, it's not enough to ask people if they've worked in e-commerce before. Chances are, because there are like 4 million Amazon sellers alone, that somebody's got an e-commerce seller or maybe a couple. But I would be careful with the ones who have like one cloud inventory system that they recommend. And they recommend that for all of their clients, because it tells me that they don't have a lot of sophistication with, or maybe not sophistication, but variety of clients. So like if you're a drop shipper, or you're a manufacturer, or you do a lot of wholesale, like you may have, like I would give different advice to those 3 different types of businesses. I'm not going to try and put all 3 of them on the same cloud inventory system, because it doesn't make sense for their business. So even if a company is using like only Xero or only QuickBooks Online, that doesn't worry me. What worries me is when they're advising you on operational tools that are the exact same for all their clients, because there is not one right fit for every single e-commerce business. So my last bit of advice is to know your numbers and understand your financials. Like, keep your eye on the prize. You know that the end goal is to get good financial numbers so that you can make great decisions in your business. So when you're building out your system, you've picked your platform, you've got everything moved over, you've got a system and it's humming along. The final check is, do your numbers make sense? If you're looking at your financials, does it help you make good business decisions? You know, you need to, like, if you're looking at your inventory number and that doesn't make sense, or your cost of goods sold, that doesn't make sense, and you don't really understand how much cash you have, or how to, like, how quickly your inventory is turning over, or all those different things. I mean, this is the whole point of accounting. So if you can't answer those questions, or you don't have somebody who's helping you get numbers that can help you make good decisions, then you need to reevaluate your process, you need to reevaluate who you're working with, or something needs to change. So just make sure that you know your numbers and that your system is working well for you. That's it. So I guess that's it. I will see you from my office next week. Yay! I'll be home. Well, next week I'll be in New Orleans, but I'll be almost home. And the week after that, I'll be home for the foreseeable future. So you'll start seeing me back in my office again. So I guess that's it for this week. I hope you like this video. If you did, please like, comment, and share. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll catch you later.